right, y'all. Welcome to Blacks with Power, the show for blacks in America who want to discover ways to harness their power in order to protect the gains won by the struggles of our ancestors and advance the cause of freedom for themselves, their family, and for others. We believe that for America to be great, to be that more perfect union that our Constitution calls for us to be, then we must have racial reconciliation in this country. And in order for us to do that, brothers and sisters, blacks like you and I, those of us with power, have to learn how to harness that power and leverage it to affect change. I am Father Jabril Ballantine, and I will be your guide on this journey towards the America that can and should be. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for listening. Please visit us online, blackswithpower.com. Check out the Facebook page, facebook.com/blackswithpower. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, YouTube. Listen to all the previous episodes. Yes, indeed, brothers and sisters, listen to all of the previous episodes and write a review. Give us a thumbs up, a thumbs down. Give us your thoughts on what is going well, what is going poorly, so that we can shape this content so that it meets your needs. If you want to find out more about the undergirding philosophy of this show, on what it takes for us to make Black Lives Matter in America, text reparations to 44222. That's text reparations to 44222. Now, we got a lot to discuss in this episode, so I'm going to get down to it. I'm sitting with my sister from another mister, originally from Washington, D.C. She is a social media manager. I'm going to say she's more than a social media manager. She is like a social media maven, an intellect of social media. Jessica Johnson, she has that native knowledge of digital and social media platforms. Her social media career began back in 2006 when she made the argument to promote the student and Greek homecoming events on Facebook. In the years since, Jessica has headed social media campaigns for media personalities, nonprofit organizations, political campaigns. Her skills landed her a coveted space in the 2012 presidential campaign and the 2013 inauguration committee, Go Obama. After moving to Los Angeles in 2014, Jessica turned her focus to entertainment. Currently, she provides social media support for live events and cable networks. She resides with her partner and two dogs in Long Beach, California. You can follow her on social media on Twitter at Your Socialite. That's UR Socialite. Jessica, how are you, sister? Uh-oh, you breaking up. Hello? Um, so yeah, it's great to be back connected with you because you know how Cali do. Y'all have them random earthquakes just come and knock out the internet. So if y'all see now, we got Jessica back a little narrower screen because she had to switch to mobile and a different room because she's using her mobile now as opposed to her desktop. But we got to get this information to y'all. So Jessica, thank you for joining us. Like I said before the earthquake hit, how you doing today?
Well, I'm doing well, having a good morning.
Oh man, oh man, oh man. Nothing like an
As you can
earthquake in
see,
the morning to
right?
get you up and going, right?
Exactly, but we're resourceful, If the laptop don't work, you gotta switch.
Right, right, indeed, indeed. I'm grateful to have you on the show. You all may not know, but you should know by now, and you will definitely find out. Jessica is the new social media. What's the title? Social media manager. Social media. What's the title that you have for the real?
I'm the social media producer.
Producer, my bad. I couldn't remember if it was like director, manager, vice president, but she's a social media producer for The Real. If y'all watch The Real, I don't know what network it comes on your location, but it comes on Fox here for me. I think it might be
Mhm.
Fox for everyone. But it's like The View for our generation.
Exactly.
And so she's responsible for all of their social media content and making sure they stay up on social media two-way, both in relaying social media out as well as responding. So when you all, tweet the real or Facebook the real or,
That's all
Instagram the
me.
real, yeah, that's all Jessica. So I am glad to have you on the show just to talk about, the social media landscape, our place as Black folks in that landscape, and what opportunities are in that social media landscape, for everyone overall, but specifically the niche that you see, because you have some very interesting perspectives on the niche that you see for Black people in the social media market space. So just before we get started diving into questions, just tell our listeners a little bit about you, how you got started in social media, how you got to where you are now.
Um, Oh God. So it's funny. I work in television, and everything I've ever done is because of something I've seen on TV.
Okay.
So when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, I went to Towson University in Maryland, and I decided to major in communication studies. And communication studies, as opposed to mass communications is when you pick a track. Either you're going into advertising, you're going into marketing, you're going into PR, you're going into journalism specifically.
Right.
But communication studies was an overall study of how people communicate. What is rhetoric? What is persuasion? What is like the elements of communication that make it effective?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when I was picking a career in that, communication studies kind of preps you for a behind the scenes role. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because like we take classes like crisis communication, and we studied Johnson and Johnson is always a case study in crisis communications, right? Because when we were younger, they had the issue of people putting cyanide pills in the bottles.
Right.
So they responded with, now everything has this child safe lock with cotton swabs in there and everything. That was Johnson and Johnson's idea.
Okay.
Record-breaking crisis communications. This is literally people teach classes on it now.
Wow.
Even now with Johnson and Johnson and their baby powder thing, how
Right.
they've settled it, with an apology. They presented the research that they had, and then they brought in new researchers and were like, "Oh shit, looks like our shit was wrong," and they paid it, and they paid people out. Johnson and Johnson's a great company. I own stock in it. But in looking at that, trying to figure out what to do as a career, I was thinking, I was watching Entourage, that was a poppin' show, and in Entourage there was one character that stood out to me, and it was Sheena.
Okay.
Sheena was the publicist.
Okay.
And no
Okay.
matter what happened, no matter what was going on, she might be a little cross and cuss them out, but she had a plan. I'm gonna call my Cartier contact, get a watch, and then see if they'll write you a good review. I'm gonna call my contact over at the Variety, see if we can get you an interview. I really liked that because it was powerful without being in the forefront, because I'm a
Okay.
little shy. So I was like, all right, I'll be a publicist, I'll be an event planner. So that was how the homecoming opportunity came around,
Okay.
because Towson was looking for a homecoming chair. So why not me, right?
Right. 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 So started by getting involved in your collegiate level.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They tell you your network is your net worth. It definitely starts in college. And it starts with like your professors. Like if you have a professor that you have a good rapport with, it's all right. Like ask them questions, send them emails. Like my professor sent me on a lot of informational interviews to radio stations, to nonprofit organizations, to event planning firms that were in Baltimore, wedding planners, that sort of thing, to kind of
Okay.
figure it out. So I went from publicist to being a wedding planner. I did get a good internship too. I was the marketing intern at the Baltimore Arena for 2 years.
Okay. Okay. Nice.
And in that job, I was setting up the press room, just ushering artists in to do their, pre-concert interviews and everything, just walking through the room, walking back to their dressing room. The worst part about that job was the circus and Miley Cyrus.
was Miley twerking?
Oh, this was when she was Hannah Montana. So
Oh,
no.
this was pre-twerkable Miley. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, this was Hannah Montana. And Hannah Montana had some awful parents and fans. Like the fans were fine because they were all like 11 to 15, but
The
like
parents.
it was weird. Like parents were trying to drop off their children to me and be like, "Oh, is this the parents' waiting area to try to
The
sneak into the concert?" And I'm like, "No, if you don't have a ticket, you have to go." Like it kind of
mercy.
prepped me for how to have them know and have it be firm, and have people, follow my directions. Is look, I'm an employee here. I cannot be responsible for your minor. Move it right along.
Right, right. So then how do you get, because you're back in entertainment now, but I know there was a stint where you were out of entertainment and
I was.
in politics and in social activism. So how did you make that transition, and or what prompted that transition, and how did you ultimately, because the real question that I want to get to is how did you ultimately get to being on the presidential inauguration committee, and what was that experience like?
Oh, I'm getting there. Well, I got laid off.
Oh,
That's
that's
how I got on.
awesome.
I was my first job ever out of school, did all that in school, and I got a job as a banquet manager at Andrews Air Force Base.
Okay.
That was my first job. running around Andrews Air Force Base on a golf cart, setting up parties.
Nice. Okay.
And then when the war ended, they reduced the civilian employees on
Okay.
base.
Okay.
And, you know, DC, it's a tenure town. I
Right.
had the least amount of tenure, last hired, first fired.
Right. Okay.
Gotta go.
Right.
And kind of what you do in DC if you're not working, and I suggested right now, is you join a campaign.
Yeah.
Volunteer, be it a local campaign. I called the local campaign office, like I was on the Obama campaign website, and I was like, all right, I can volunteer. Then the next tab next to volunteer for the campaign was work for the campaign. I was like, see what that's about. And I clicked it. They had a position called an organizer, community organizer.
Okay.
Didn't know what that was at the time, but it sounded like an event planner. So I was like, all right, I can get people
organize.
together.
Right.
I can get people together and get an event out. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I applied, and I had a phone interview, and within a week they sent me to Richmond, Virginia. I was in my car heading down to Richmond. I stayed 6 months in what's called supporter housing. Well,
Okay.
8 months.
Okay.
And what supporter housing is when you work on a campaign, because they're sending you all over the place, right? Another level of volunteering. If you don't want to call nobody, you don't want to knock on the doors. A lot of people volunteer their home.
Right.
Like,
right.
I have a spare room. I'll let someone stay here.
Right.
So I ended up staying with a family in Richmond, Virginia. Like, we're still friends to this day.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Sweet couple. They were foster
Okay.
parents.
Okay.
So I walk in the door. They got this little cute baby sitting there. They're feeding baby food. They're like, "Hey, how you doing?" The wife was like a stay-at-home mom
Oh,
and
nice.
everything. It was really, really nice and a
Okay.
good experience because the hours to work a campaign are just crazy.
Right.
And yeah, that's how I got there. I got laid off and was like, "All right, it's an election year. This is what we do."
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So note to listener, you get laid off. That damn sure could be an opportunity. So
It could, because getting laid off, you have free time.
Right.
Time that you wouldn't otherwise have. Like, think about it. An 8-hour workday is a long time.
Right. Right.
That's a lot of time
Yeah, it is.
from your day.
Yeah.
And by the time you're leaving work, like the sun's going down, you got to think about dinner. What are you going to do? But if you're laid off, you know what I mean? And I was staying with my parents at the time. If you're blessed enough to do that, stay home. If they're not charging you rent, like, why have yourself the stress of extra bills? And then, figure out your plan from there. It took me a while to figure that out. Like, I think I got laid off in March. I didn't start the campaign until like June, July.
Okay. Wow. So you've had experience in event planning and entertainment, experience in political organizing and using social media for political organizing. Now you're back in entertainment with a show that is shaping popular culture, that is at least helping to shape popular culture. So in your long arc view, right? And yeah, people may say it's like 2006, right? People don't understand, like 2006 social media was like nothing. Like, what in the world are you talking about?
It was nothing.
Right?
Facebook was the Facebook.
Right.
It still had that weird icon of that guy, that little like blurred out image of a face, and the wall was a Word doc page.
Right. Exactly.
And anyone could delete stuff from your wall. Like, people don't remember that. Facebook did not used to be private.
Right. So
anyone could write on your wall. They could delete people's comments. Anyone could tag you.
yeah.
When picture tagging first came out, that ended a lot of relationships.
Oh yeah. So having that long arc view of the landscape, right? What would you say is the single greatest opportunity posed by social media?
We've never had an opportunity to connect in meaningful ways like how we have before. Like, when Twitter first launched, only celebrities were on it, and they were promoting their concerts. Like, I remember I used to follow Diddy heavy on Twitter. I still do. And every day he would like tweet people. He would tweet himself in the studio. And one day I tweeted him like, "Hey Diddy, I'm a Scorpio too." And he tweeted me back.
Right.
And I said, "Well, goddamn." I tweeted Solange one day, "Hey girl, I love your album." And she tweeted me back.
Right. Yeah. So you got those
And
deeper connections, able to connect in
absolutely.
ways that we could never connect before. So why?
And two people you wouldn't ever be able to connect before. Like when I was looking into the job that I have now, my boss is Bob Moeller. If people aren't familiar with him, he was one of the executive producers of Full House.
Oh wow.
He's
Okay.
now exactly. He's now the digital director of Warner Brothers
Oh
or
wow.
Telepictures. Sorry.
Okay. Okay.
And I wouldn't have known that if I didn't jump on LinkedIn real quick. Like
Right.
I knew the name.
Right.
I knew the name, of course, because I watch TV. I know credits, right?
Right.
But,
Right.
but like digging into LinkedIn, he's on Facebook. I jumped on there real quick. This job I actually found on Facebook.
Okay. Okay. So then if those connections are what makes social media so the big opportunity, why is that important? Like why should I care? I mean, all of us are on social media, all of us we're consumers of social media. We're
Yeah,
even participants on social media, but we're more
absolutely.
so passive participants, you know.
Hmm.
So why is if I'm using Snapchat, I'm using Facebook, I'm using all of these Twitch, whatever. Why is that important, right? What is and how do I capitalize upon that opportunity? Why should that be important to me?
Because it's important to find when you're trying to launch a campaign, an idea, business, anything, it's important to find what I call your tribe or people that agree with you, quite frankly.
Okay.
Like you need to find the group of people that that understand what you're saying, that support your message. You know what I mean? That if you're an artist or something that like your work, right?
Right.
So social media allows you to test that, what's not, what's good, what's not. It allows you to test new ideas. Like I'm in Slack groups with people that are like, hey, anyone know how to edit stuff on the new Illustrator? Or anyone up on the new Illustrator updates? It's a way to pass information and really get meaningful information quickly. And information that maybe a few years ago, a lot of people would charge you for.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
And people don't understand the power, net neutrality, pivoting back to politics. Net neutrality is like a big issue in politics because of how free our internet is.
Mm-hmm.
Like the
Mm-hmm.
freedom of the information, how fast it is, the freedom of flowing. And that's a unique situation. And it's a big opportunity to take advantage of that. Like YouTube is still free, Twitter is still free. The last couple of stars that we've seen on TV have actually come up from them platforms. Like Issa Rae, Insecure, that was on YouTube as Awkward Black Girl for eons.
Right. Right. No, no.
Maybe like 7, 8, almost 10 years.
Yeah, my wife was a fan. She used to watch it on YouTube. Yeah. I
Hmm.
never watched it on YouTube.
I knew about it. I didn't really watch it either, but I knew that she made it, and I was like, all right, more power to you, girl.
Right, and that's
You know
one
what
of
I
the
mean?
things that we were talking about before we got on, days ago before we got on the show, is this reality that, like you said, those people are coming out of social media and they're using that platform as a way to get into the mainstream. I think if I remember correctly, that's how Soldier Boy got on.
Yep.
Soldier Boy got started. I think it was on
Justin
YouTube.
Bieber.
You know, and and and
Justin Bieber.
and we were
Usher found him on YouTube.
right. And so we were talking about, I think the interesting thing we were talking about is that you were looking at it and seeing how the majority of the folk using that are black. A lot, or at
Yep.
least a lot of the folk using that model are black. And so then the question becomes, as we talk about
There's
black.
studies going on right now. There's huge conversations, and luckily I'm in the producer space of entertainment, and we talk a lot about representation.
Okay.
In Hollywood, Oscars so white, the Emmy Awards, how they go. There's still a big conversation in entertainment about how to represent people evenly, fairly, however you want to phrase that. You know what
Okay.
I mean?
Okay.
It's still a very white space.
Okay.
It's still run by, you know what I mean? It's still, the higher ups are very not not like us.
Right.
So it's a unique opportunity to one expose them to what people are actually saying, because they know we're on the internet. They still don't necessarily know why. They still don't necessarily know what we're talking about, and they want to break into it. Like, let's face it, black people are the highest consumers. We spend billions every year
Mm-hmm.
on phones, clothes, whatever. So when you're trying to break into that niche and break into that market as a business person, you need to be authentic with how you communicate with people.
Right.
And they're starting to realize that now, which is why they're bringing in people like me.
Okay. Okay.
Our
So
whole digital team is brand new girls, and we're all, I'm African American. We have one Latina girl and another girl that's kind of like Armenian or whatnot. And the three of us, like, we have a whole new idea of what television and how digital can inform television. And quite frankly, we get a lot of pushback
okay.
because we're young, because it's new, because, you know what I mean? Like, Instagram stories have only been out for so long, but we also know where the people are.
Right.
And that can no longer be ignored. And that's where I feel like people can capitalize.
Right. So, with that capitalization, um, and like you said, we cannot be ignored anymore, and they need your voice to kind of help them understand our voice. So then,
Hmm.
what becomes both the responsibility and the opportunity for someone like yourself in that space? What do you see as your, or another way of asking that, what do you see as your overarching goal for why you do what you do, particularly with the real?
I think The Real specifically, there's no other show like it, especially in daytime TV. Like, there are other shows that have, four people sitting at a table, five or so people that sitting at the table, but there's no show that has four women of color every day sitting at a table, and they discuss real topics. Like Tamara Mowry, she has mixed race children, she's mixed race.
Right.
Jeannie Mai, she's, you know what I mean, she's growing up as Asian American, first gen in the US. Lonnie Love, she's black, she's a black woman, she's a comedian in a space where people say that women aren't funny.
Right.
You know what I mean? Adrienne Balan, she's Latina. You know what I mean? She's come up with a lot of us. We all remember 3LW and the Cheetah Girls.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I mean? It's a very unique opportunity with these women because they're younger. They have the same unique perspectives as we are, and they're just as tapped into the internet as we are too.
Okay.
So, right now there's a campaign going on for there's a guy doing a Kickstarter to do like a Pixar movie about doing his daughter's hair.
Yeah. Yeah. I
He's
heard about
he's
that.
African. Yeah, he raised over $200,000. Like, that's a newsworthy story anywhere else.
Right.
So, I feel like I have a responsibility to bring that to my producers, to mention these things that are happening that they might not otherwise see because it's trending for a reason. They're looking to me to tell them what's trending.
Right. Right.
So that's nothing but opportunity. And of course, to be even, and with the host being so varied, it brings opportunity to really bring unique voices to that table.
Right.
And that's something that I'm looking forward to. And, in terms of a responsibility, it's true. Sometimes you do have to kind of translate. And what I'm realizing is it doesn't come from a bad place. Like, a lot of times, we as black people, we have rich history, we have rich culture. We get offended when people ask questions about things. We get offended. I'm sitting here with purple streaks in my hair.
Right.
It just so happens to match the show. You know what I mean? But these are extensions. They understand extensions.
Right.
So it's like when they ask, how do you install it? It's not an offensive question. They really don't know.
Right.
That could inform, a segment on the show, different types of protective styles. How do you do your hair? We really talk about that as different women. Like, we've had unique experiences growing up within our own culture. So we think about how we can bring that to the forefront in a
Right.
TV format or on digital.
Right. Right. Right.
So that is a responsibility because at the end of the day, like I said, it's still a white space.
Right. Right. And that was the point that I was going to get to, and ask you about, because what I hear there is that there's this real effort to bring the conversation that's happening in the digital virtual space to the television space. As much as we understand, and that's why, Issa Rae still wanted to get on HBO. Yeah, she had a ton of followers on YouTube, but still,
Exactly.
you want to get on
But
HBO.
HBO is the Holy Grail. Like, are you kidding me?
Right,
If
right,
you're on
right.
HBO, you're set for life.
Exactly. Exactly. And so, in the same vein, I would imagine, and this is where I want to hear your thoughts on, in the same vein, when we have these conversations in the digital space, when these issues that we're facing as black people in this country are only happening on digital space, it's like we still need to get it to the mainstream TV space. And
We
I,
do.
I get a sense that that's what you do, right?
Absolutely. That's exactly what I do. Now, granted, because it's the real, it's daytime, it's midday TV. We're not the View, right? We don't get too deep into politics. We don't get too deep into like current events because, quite frankly, you get enough of it. But there's still an opportunity in that bright spot in your day to still bring up topics and people that you might have never been exposed to before.
Right. Right. And that's part of that responsibility, like you said, I would imagine, you have been blessed with an opportunity to be in this space, to exist in this space. You've been blessed with the skills and the talent to thrive and excel in this space. So now how do you use that, not just to benefit yourself, which is great, you know what I mean? Thanks be to God. I was excited to hear. I was like, oh yeah, my little sister, man, that's my soror, and I knew her back when, and I'm like, oh, look at my little sister, she's doing big things. And that's true. Yet and still, that having that responsibility, understanding that responsibility on how to use that space to benefit people that aren't in that space, right?
Exactly.
So then how should, me, up and comer, not necessarily me, I'm no social media like genius, but I do my thing. I'm all right. But how should I be looking at social media? What would you advise people who are on social media, especially those who are in communications, right? What would you advise people who are on social media? How would you advise them to look at social media in terms of positioning them and positioning their passions, their concerns, or how would you advise them to approach the social media landscape?
I always liken social media to the cafeteria in high school.
Okay.
Like, you remember the lunchroom in high school?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There was
yeah.
There was a pool table. There was like the nerd table. There was, you know what I mean?
Right.
You kind of sit based on it. It was real. It's a
pecking
hierarchy,
order. Yeah.
right? Pecking order. If you do social media right, you can have a seat at every table.
Okay. Talk about that.
So I love trending topics because you can pop in, pop out, right? You can thread your comments, making, a one long stream of thought as a thread, tag yourself, add some hashtags, and then that's searchable forever. So if you're paying attention and you know the space you're trying to be in, Fine Women, like if you're a model, every Friday I would post 4 or 5 pictures for Fine Women Friday.
Yeah, right.
Make sure that I'm tagging that page. Make sure I'm tagging the founders of Fine Women Friday, who are sorors too.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean when I say, going back to what I'm saying about connection. Like, if you can find any person that you've ever dreamed of, any hero that you ever found, find them. Look, see if they have an Instagram page, see if they have a Facebook page, and send them a message. You would be surprised how responsive people are. And I've made a lot of good friends, even in this industry, from doing just that.
Right. Right.
One of them, ironically, is the music director from Entourage. He's my Facebook friend.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah.
And we became Facebook friends because on Twitter, he would always do an all call. Like, I'm looking for a song that describes sadness. I'm looking for a song that describes da 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 da. And clearly he's a musical genius, because he also does the music for Ballers. Now he did the music for, I want to say he did Boardwalk Empire when it was on.
Okay.
Like, he's very, very good.
Okay.
He's like Jay-Z, Ty's personal friend.
Oh, cool. Okay.
But, I was reaching out to him when he did an all call. I was suggesting stuff. Either he took it or he didn't.
Right.
But when I sent that Facebook invite, he accepted because he recognized me.
Right. Right. So,
and that's kind of what you have to do. It takes time. It's you have to just set up your building blocks. And if you can decide what you want to do, it's as simple as finding someone who's already doing it and sending them a link.
Nice. Yeah, I like, because that's exactly what I was going to ask you for, those building blocks. You talk about having those building blocks, and what I hear, maybe because I know you, I hear the strategy, right? Like, you had an end goal in mind, and you were piecing together building blocks through social media to get to a particular point. So,
well, they say your network is your net worth, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's an old saying.
Oh yeah. And so
it's just a new way to put that in action.
You talk about, I love this, right? Just because I'm an old soul, right? Like, you talk about like being leaders of the new school. I know most people don't even remember Busta Rhymes being in leaders of the new school. People are like, Busta Rhymes, leaders of the new school. Google it, y'all. Y'all need to get real. Like leaders of the
I
new
do remember
school.
that
You
actually
know, that's an
when
old
he was Skinny Buster.
skinny with his dreads looking crazy, Buster. Leaders of the new school, Buster. But anyway, back to the show at hand, right? You talk about tapping into that new school power with social media, right? And clearly, like you said, you have to have those building blocks in order to tap into that power. So my question then, in terms of if we're looking at setting up those building blocks, right? We're talking about 2 years, 3 years, talking to somebody who's in college, as a for instance, who's looking, because you got started in college. So,
I did.
2 years, 3 years, you know, what would have to happen over the course of 2 years, 3 years, for someone to position themselves to build those blocks in order to have that viable network that gets them where they want to go, similar to what you did. Now, I don't know if you methodically did it when you were doing it, but at least in retrospect, if you can look back and see what were those things that you put in place, like what would have to happen for someone to position themselves effectively in the social media landscape.
I don't know if anything has to necessarily happen, but you have to be rememberable. You have to be memorable.
Okay.
It's honestly that simple. When I was working in the campaigns, I have braids right now. I have a huge
Oh
afro.
yeah, I remember the
I
I
got a lot
remember
of
the
hair.
huge afro. Oh yeah,
I have a lot of hair. And it's funny that when I was going down to Richmond, my grandmother asked me, Lord rest her, was I going to press my hair? Was I going to straighten it? And I said no, because I'm not going to have time to keep it up.
Right.
And that was just a pure economic strategy. I didn't have $75 to get my hair straightened every 2 weeks if I'm going to be doing this work, right? Or the time.
Right.
So I went down there for 8 months in Richmond, Virginia with a curly afro. But when it was time to select people for the inauguration team, they said Jessica with the hair.
Right. I want a girl
That
with
was
an
how they
afro.
yeah, like I want Jessica with all the hair because clearly Jessica Johnson is a common name.
Right. 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 Yeah. Yeah.
But Jessica with the hair, everyone remembered who I was. Oh, that Jessica from Richmond, right? From Virginia. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I love her. Bring her on.
Right.
If you can make yourself memorable for some reason, be it that you're funny, be it that you're clever, be it that you're witty, you can be a good cook, you can sing really well. If it's something that makes you stand out uniquely, that's what you go for. And then make sure that you're genuine. Like don't reach out to people for the sake of it. Like be genuine in what you're doing. Like if you say you like someone's outfit, mean it. If you say that you don't like something, mean it, but mean it in a way that's not offensive. Like you can disagree with someone without being disagreeable.
Right.
And I've done that. I've had disagreements with people in powerful positions before I even got this one. And I'm like, all right, agree to disagree. Thanks for tweeting me. And then the next day we're tweeting jokes
Right.
and memes back and forth to each other. But it's because I was genuine in my exchange. Like I'm not just being a troll out
Right.
here.
Right.
You know what I mean? And there are a lot of those.
Ton of
But there are
those.
also mechanisms to get rid of them too.
Right.
So you don't want to land yourself on a troll list by being obnoxious or being, you know what I mean? A lot of people, it's kind of cool to be rude and mean to people lately. I don't really subscribe to that. Now, granted, if you come at me crazy, you know what I mean? You get what you get. But when you're reaching out to people, there's no need to say Blue Ivy's hair is ugly on Beyonce's Instagram.
Right.
Because that's memorable too.
Right. Yeah, but memorable for the wrong reasons, right?
Exactly.
And so essentially then, if I understand what you're saying correctly, and I mean, it goes without saying, but people need to understand, we need to understand that the social media landscape is just like the real world landscape, right? So
Yeah, if you
on
say
social
it,
media, you got to be
don't
memorable.
be like and be genuine. Like, I'm old school too. Like if I won't say something to someone's face, I'm not going to tweet it to them.
Right.
I'm not going to leave a comment on Instagram that I wouldn't say to someone personally, whether I know them or not.
Right.
So, you have to be able, I mean, you're an adult now. You got to deal in this adult world. And there's no such thing as freedom of speech. There is no such thing as freedom from consequence.
Right. Right. Right.
And you got to remember that, like the very basic rules of engagement of civility if you follow those, it takes you way further than a lot of the shock value things that I see people do,
Right. Right.
because it builds an impression of trustworthiness, of those things that people want when they're looking for partners.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're not going to trust your brand to someone who will throw it away on a single tweet. You're not going to trust your reputation on someone who's going to, post a nude picture on Instagram. Now, if that's your
Hey,
stick, go
but we,
for it. Like,
but
there's
we gonna
nothing.
trust the country with it. But we gonna trust America with somebody who gonna blow us all up with a tweet. But anyway, that's besides the point.
Okay. Like, it's a lot of buyer's remorse. It's a lot of buyer's remorse on that, because at first that was a shining beacon. Oh, he's not helmed by the Washington political machine. He just tweets out what he thinks, and now it got everyone on edge.
Right.
It's memorable though.
Right, it is, but memorable for the wrong reasons. So I remember, we talk a lot, and I appreciate having you on the show. What would you say to someone who wants to do what you do, who wants to be like a social media director, a social media producer? How do they best educate themselves? Is it books? Because I know we talked earlier about majors and the difference between a mass comm and communication strategy, and even nowadays I imagine that a lot of that stuff isn't even in the collegiate space, isn't even in the classroom space. It's beyond
there are
that.
social media classes now. You can get a social media degree. Now,
Okay.
Granted,
that's how old I am. I ain't know that.
I mean, because I thought about it. I was like, USC has a social media marketing cert. But then when I looked at the classes, I was like, I'm not paying money for this. I can teach this class.
Right. Right.
So it all depends, because we're younger. I feel like a lot of the classes are for older people that are trying to figure it out, kind of like computer and Excel classes or things. But I honestly say, if you want to, there ain't nothing to it but to do it. A new platform pops up every day.
Right.
And platforms die every day. Like, look what happened to Vine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we thought Vine was in it to win it. I know I did.
I didn't get into Vine. It was gone before I got into it, So I guess I didn't miss nothing.
It was on for years.
Yeah.
It was on for years. Vine was going to take the place of Twitter.
Right.
Just like the internet just like TV was going to take the place of radio and books, and the internet's going to take the place of TV. Nothing ever leaves.
Right.
So you just need to find the platform that you like and do it well.
Right.
If that's YouTube, and it's going to be shitty when you first start. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
it ain't easy.
Have something and keep working at it, because you can't get better if you don't do it.
Right.
Yeah. Like, you're never going to get that lighting right in your selfie if you don't know that the light needs to be in front, not behind. Like, even I still get that wrong. But I do know, like, hold the camera up if you're doing a selfie. It makes you look tall.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't learn those things without being silly, without making a mistake. And sometimes, you might get embarrassed, but you can delete that shit.
Right. Right. Ain't nothing like falling on your face to learn the real way to do it, huh?
Absolutely. I got laid off.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah. And I tell people all the time, yeah, I did too. So from good jobs, I was a communications director for a member of Congress, before I even had an undergraduate degree. And so, hey, things happen, but your life moves on, and you got to take those chances and experiment. And I think it's fitting, as I wear my Marcus Garvey t-shirt, Garvey's birthday is coming up, August 17th. Marcus Messiah Garvey, the greatest black leader ever known to black leadership. Google him, y'all. Marcus Garvey, Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. The reason I interject him in this conversation, exactly. I was just about to say, the reason I interject him into this conversation is that he had the right idea. And in order to continue controlling the narrative that is said about us, we need more people like Jessica. We need more of you.
Right, we need to make our own.
Yeah, to be curating the content, to be funneling the content, to be sharing the content, to be creating the content, not just to be consuming the content. And so, Jessica, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing these possibilities, sharing your perspectives. What any words that you have for brothers and sisters out there before we close out for the show?
Um, I just want to say there is power in persistence. If I were to tell people the number of times I got laid off, the number of people that told me social media is being a glorified friend and no one's going to pay you to be a professional friend, no one's going to pay you to be on Facebook all day. You know, if you have that vision in your head, it's there for a reason.
Right.
And, you know, it's funny that I work in television. My grandmother, when I used to watch Disney movies, she used to tell me, you know, if you read the credits, read all of them.
Mm.
Every single credit is a job. Every single credit is something that you can do. The movie wouldn't be made without that person that was the key grip boy, whatever the hell that means. I still don't know what that means.
I've no idea what a grip is. Like, you know.
And like, you know, it's funny. I'm on the Warner Brother lot every day. I might just ask somebody today, like, what are you the key grip? What does that mean?
Right.
But you know what I mean? That's somebody's job. And lo and behold, yesterday I filled out some paperwork that asked how I want my name to appear in credits.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, you never know. If you can, like, you have to sometimes see what you want to do it.
Right. Right. Yeah, you gotta
And
see it
that's why
first.
representation is important.
Right. Because if we don't see folk like you, and that's why I'm so glad to have you on the show, because I want people to see that folk like you exist. You know, that you can, if because I know there's a lot of people that are so good on social media. They are able to grasp the concepts. They are able to connect. They are able to share their own content and the content of others, and just build massive engagement. But they don't know that they can make that anything more than just how they do their life. You know, they, you know, how they interact with people. They don't realize that there's a huge industry behind that, and that there are people that are making a living, and a good living,
Good living.
doing
Okay.
doing that. So, you know, I appreciate, again, she's on. Is it all your social media is your social light?
Oh, the one that matters.
Ooh, now debate, you know, like which ones matter. But, you know, suffice it to say, she is on all
We all have our favorites.
but whatever your favorite is, brothers and sisters, whatever your favorites is, I'm sure Jessica is on there as your social light. That's you are social light, LITE. And so I'm gonna put all of that in the post so that you all can connect with her. But hold her to it, because she said that the way that she went about doing this was by randomly and genuinely connecting with folk out there. So repay the favor to her, and randomly
That's fine.
and genuinely connect with her at your social light. Check out the reel, and then, you know, challenge her on what's coming up, on what's not coming up. Because that's what they want. They want to
Tell
know
me
what you want.
to see.
Right.
You know, and because we want to know that, and if I get enough people, if I can show my producers, hey, it's a whole bunch of people talking about this duck right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
They'll have no choice but to look at this duck.
Right.
And it's that simple.
Right.
That's how powerful this is. Like it becomes a matter of, hey, such and such is trending. Can we post?
Right.
That's my role now.
Right.
So, you know, if something's important to you, if you want Lonnie Love to shout it out, you know, I work with the talent. That's another avenue. Hey, Lonnie Love said this, that, and the third. Can we do something with that?
Right.
The worst anyone can ever tell you is no.
Right.
And no shouldn't make people afraid.
Right. Right.
Because if you never get a yes or no, like it's a fine. You got to get an answer.
Yeah. Yeah. You used to say, you know, they say one couple of things we used to say: nothing beats a failure but a try.
Yep.
And you know, the worst that can happen is they say no, and then you ain't no worse off than you were before.
Right?
All these old school sayings, you know, but that's real. You know, speaking of the real, you know, y'all connect with her, tweet her, Facebook her, Instagram her, you know, find her, your social life, and let her know what you want to hear, and let me know what you want to hear. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Jessica, for joining. And now I definitely want to hear from you all. So be sure to like the Facebook page, facebook.com/blackswithpower, and subscribe to the show, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, YouTube. Listen to the previous episodes. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs down. Write a review, right? Because I need to know, we need to know, is the show hitting what you want it to hit? So write a review, leave a review.
You're on social media too.
Yeah, exactly. You know, wink, wink. I am here trying to do what you need me to do. So I appreciate you. Thank you all for listening. And remember, brothers and sisters, a charge to keep we have, a God to glorify, a never dying soul to save and fit it for the sky. We have come a long way, brothers and sisters. Yes, indeed. And we as a people have achieved a great deal. But we ain't there yet. So let us march on till victory is won. Live with power.
Okay, now. Have a good one.